You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
An Army veteran has been charged with attempted murder for shooting and wounding a 15-year-old girl at a Trump rally in Des Moines, Iowa last month. 25-year-old Michael McKinney was wearing body armor, toting a pistol, had additional loaded magazines on his body, another gun covered with Trump stickers in his car when he shot the teen. The teen and her friends were engaging in an argument with Trump supporters, and McKinney says he shot the victim in self-defense. However, the mother of one of the teens told the Associated Press they had been surrounded by Trump supporters who were shouting racial slurs and threats right before McKinney opened fire, wounding the teen. He is currently in jail without bond, and if convicted, a 25-year-old will face 25 years behind bars. These are the kinds of people that Donald Trump has radicalized. He has actually opened the door to these type of folks. This is not going to be the last time we see this. Mustafa, we already see the people who are being arrested all across the country by the FBI. Every single day they're being arrested, including one woman who stole a laptop from the office of Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office, told a friend she was going to sell it to the Russians.
I mean, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists, however you want to label these folks, you know, many of them have training and they have connections through their training. And folks just need to be aware of that. You know, I have a lot of folks in my family who've been in the military, some still are, have huge amounts of respect for it, but I also understand the shortcomings that are in that space, and we have to address it. You know, lots of times when we see these killings that happen around the country, people sometimes have military training, you know. So once again, as we said earlier in the show, you have got to do a better job of vetting folks. You have got to have a psychological analysis also before we allow folks into the military, before we allow folks into law enforcement, to understand if they are easily radicalized. You know, it's not like Donald Trump came into their house and whispered in their ear every night in a physical form. He's done it through his tweets. He's done it through the dog whistles and other things. But we also got to make sure that, you know, we're not allowing individuals to have literally people's lives in their hands who are not prepared for that set of responsibilities that come in being in law enforcement or the military.
But you know what, Mustafa? Some of these people, some of the people who are screening people, they're screening their cousins. I mean, you know, these people are related. I mean, even if they're not their cousins, they have a shared belief pattern. So when you talk about, well, we have to vet them, well, who's going to be vetting them and who's going to be vetting the vetters? There's a history of, for example, I'm a native San Franciscan. In Oakland, they were basically recruiting Klan members. Did I roll my neck enough? Klan members to join the Oakland police force back in the 40s and 50s. And that's why you got the resistance to the Black Panther Party in the 60s and 70s. These were people who were predisposed to hate Black people. If you ask them to vet their cousins, they would tell you their cousins were okay. So when you racism is baked in the cake that's called America. And unpacking that cake is like taking a piece of bread and saying, I'm going to take the gluten out of it. And it doesn't work that way. So when you talk about we have to be careful, but what kind of careful and who's careful? I'm just raising the question. I don't have the answer, but I find it very disturbing that we would kind of say, well, you know, we can fix this. No, actually, we can't.
Well, if I could respond to that real quickly, if you look at, I'm sorry, go ahead, Avis.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mustafa, go ahead.
No, Mustafa, go ahead. Mustafa, go ahead, then I go to Avis. Go ahead.
Well, if you look at the movement for Black Lives, and when folks are talking about defunding police, when they're talking about restructuring the system, then they are also inside of that is actually how do we put these stopgaps and these accountability measures in there? And a part of that is making sure that we have folks who are watching the folks, if you will. So, that is a part of those broader conversations that have to happen to make sure that we are going to have a 21st century law enforcement or a 21st century police force where there are checks and balances that are in there and that folks are not, as you said, sort of the fox watching the chicken house, if you will.
Yeah. And I'll just say that's exactly.
Avis, go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly what's needed. There needs to be multiple layers here because that problem is sort of baked in, as Dr. Malveaux brilliantly suggested. And also, here's what we know. We know that if they want to address this issue, they could. And they could have years ago. I mean, I remember when we reported on this show a couple of years ago about all of these racist Facebook posts that the study exposed that police officers had put on their personal, they were bold enough to put it on their personal Facebook account years ago. And then police district by police district by police district did nothing. Yet at the same time, we have all of these people who were involved with the Ferguson protest ending up dead under mysterious circumstances. You can't tell me that all those Black Lives Matter activists who ended up dead under weird and suspicious circumstances, like supposedly setting themselves on fire inside their own car, like supposedly lynching themselves on their own clothesline. You can't tell me that all of those were quote unquote suicides. So what I'm suggesting here is that when this country wants to take out what they believe is a threat, they can and they have. And we can go back decades, all the way back to the Panthers and even before to give you examples of that. What has happened, though, is that with this threat, they have allowed it to fester. They have allowed it to grow. And now, unfortunately, the chickens are coming home to roost.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.